Here is everything I made in 2024. It is a giant pile, very messy pile of stuff that I just threw on my chair. Polis is here to help me go through it, maybe. But let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Patricia and I am the creator behind Pops to Milk Crochet, where I share patterns, tutorials, and inspiration. And it is January, so it is high time that I shared everything I made in 2024. I was busy in 2024, apparently. There are a lot of projects. The stack goes this high right now. So there is no specific order that I'm going to go through all of this because I also just don't remember exactly when I made each of these items. I just know that I made them last year. So I've stacked them up as best as I could, and I'm going to try to go through all of them and not take up several hours to do this. I made this octopus inspired by, there's an octopus in The Sims 4, and it comes with nifty knitting pack. And in this Sims pack, you can knit different amigurumis and house decor. There's like rugs and sweaters and hats and socks. Anyway, I decided to take a break from other projects I was working on at the time to make this with super bulky yarn. I think I had some leftover of this random brown and sort of burnt orange color, which is why it's these colors, and also the pink. And I was also experimenting with adding like splotches of color because the amigurumi octopus in The Sims 4 has these little splotches of color on it. So this was my version of it. I kind of freehanded it, but I do want to put out a pattern for this. I think it's super cute, and it's been on my desk all year. It is a great desk companion, but let me know if you would like a pattern for this, and I will definitely make one. All right, sticking with the amigurumi theme. Oh dear, something just fell. So sticking with the amigurumi theme, here is another one. This was my emotional support bee because I kept seeing emotional support amigurumi, and I thought I would revisit one of my older designs, and it was the little beads that I made I don't know how many years ago, and I thought I would embiggen the little bee into this giant bee. It is super cute. I struggled with the face. I do have a tutorial on this, and I had a different face before I took it out. I had some second guesses on how I did the stripes, but overall, I love this bee, and it doubles as a pillow and just house decor. So you've probably seen this in a lot of my videos as well, just in the background, because it just makes me happy looking at it. This is what fell. So this, at the start of 2024, I made this bear. This was a ChatGPT pattern. I wanted to give ChatGPT another chance at creating a crochet pattern. The first attempt was to make a frog, which doesn't look like a frog. And then I asked it, can you make a pattern for a bear? So this is what I got. I did tell it, like, I wanted it to be an almost no-sew pattern. So I guess it interpreted as no legs and these little arms. It's cute. I do have it up on a shelf on display, so it's still kind of fun. And I wonder if I could, use this pattern just as the head and maybe give it a body so that it's just not a head with arms attached to it. So moving on from the amigurumi theme, we've got this electric vest I made at the start of the year. I wasn't sure about the colors at first, just because they're super bright and the combination of them. And I also have a video on this, a vlog and sort of quick tutorial on how I did this. But I love this vest. Everything about this, the the super brightness, but also the muted tones that I have built into it just makes it balanced in a way. So I enjoy this vest. Plus, it's got this ribbed neck and the armholes, and then, of course, the hem at the bottom. I think it just ties it all together and gives it a really, really fun, polished look. And I guess because I love that vest so much, I decided to make another one in blue. And again, I wanted to play with color and use a really, really bold sort of electric blue with a more muted one, and then finish it with a dark navy. I'm really happy with how this looked. I think I want to make more of these vests. And then I think what just ties it all together and doesn't make it look so boxy is adding the ribbed neckline and the armholes and, of course, the hem at the bottom. And it kind of softens all the edges. And of course, speaking of granny squares, I've got another granny square project. This was a bag that I made, I think, in the summer. These squares specifically were squares I had from a few years ago, and I think the original idea for these squares was to make a top, and it did not end up being a top. There is another project that involved these squares. Anyway, I had them sitting around for so long, and then I started seeing these crochet bags using granny squares in this way. A base as one granny square folded this way, and then on the sides, and then two triangle squares, and then two triangle grannies, or however you call these triangle shapes in granny stitch. So I sewed them all together. I added a zipper with a lining in it, which I was quite happy with how that turned out. So this actually is pretty sturdy. I think I even shared when I posted this bag that I bought a bottle of wine and I had a few other things in it, and it was holding up very well. So this is kind of a bag that I take out when I have to run errands and I need to put stuff in the bag. So very, very functional. And also, I just love how it looks. I think I was very much into the granny stitch last year. This, you may recall the dress that Taylor Swift wore. Everyone ran to get the same yarn colors and try to replicate the dress. And this was my version of it. I like Taylor Swift. I'm not a Swiftie. I'm not like a super fan or anything. I do like her music. But the reason I made this dress was not so much because I wanted to hop on this trend of making the Taylor Swift dress, and more so because the original dress from the store where she bought the dress, it was selling the dress for a very, very low price. As in, someone made it with their hands and was very, very heavily underpaid for their work. So I kind of made the dress just to show the time and effort involved and how much it really should cost for a handmade garment like this. Like this took a while to make. I was rushing, even though I was working like on this dress almost full time. I kind of dropped all my other projects so that I could focus on it. It took a long time to make. I have a whole video on this, just how I made it and how long it took. That's what this dress is. And then I also just mentioned like how I did some changes to it because I wasn't crazy about the boxy look of the original design. So I did make a few tweaks. And then of course the sleeves, I'm not crazy about the big bell sleeves, baggy sleeves. So I did add the afterthought ribbed cuffs. I have worn this a few times now, especially right now that it's been cold. And it is such a warm dress. It's so super cozy, and I love wearing it with leggings and boots. So I am very happy with this dress. Not so happy about the whole fashion industry and crochet and handmade products in retail stores, but it was an experiment and I am glad I did it. And to follow up with the dress, this time just a sweater, because I just wanted to show how I did the shaping and how I worked on this all in one piece essentially. So there's minimal sewing involved. But I think in the original dress, it's probably made in two panels. So like the front and the back separately, and then the sleeves, and then you sew them together. But I did not want to do that. I did film a tutorial. I just have not edited the video yet. but it is on my list of things to do. So if you are interested, just let me know that you want the tutorial for this and I will prioritize that. All right, let's take a break from the granny stitch for a little bit. This skirt almost broke me, but I am so happy with this skirt. It is just so bright, so colorful. I love all the colors together. And I love that this was all done with leftover yarn that I had from other projects or just yarn that I had been holding on to for so long for no reason at all. And I was able to use it and make this very unique and comfortable skirt. I found out that I don't need a liner to wear it. Like it's not see-through at all. I did have to play around with the elastic band that I used for it and use just a more sturdy one. I may need to somehow reinforce the elastic later on, but for now it holds up. I might want to add some sturdy belt loops and I can wear it with a belt just in case. I think I might want to make this a little bit shorter and just try a different color combination. And I do have a video on how I made the skirt if you want to check it out. All right, this is my Summer Nights Cardi. I was very ambitious. We went to Barbados last May, and I really wanted to make this in time to go to Barbados so that I could wear it during the nights potentially. Of course, it turns out Barbados was super hot and I didn't even want to think about wearing anything at night. So this, not only did I not finish it, it was not going to be needed anyway, but it was needed in the summer in Canada. Last year, I think a lot of my garments were worked from side to side instead of top to bottom or bottom to top. It was just a technique that I was really enjoying last year that I kept working with, and this was one of those projects. And then as a follow-up, just to test out a different yarn to see how it would work, and then of course to check the pattern, I created another of the cardigans. This is with an acrylic yarn. This one was with a Pima cotton yarn. So it's a little bit heavier and more drapey than this one. And this one I use more in the colder months. I just wear it over a long sleeve top and it is perfect as a cute vest in the winter. All right, so this is a filet crochet top that I made in the summer. I used for this one the 24/7 cotton yarn from Lion brand, which may not be the best choice for this. It's a little bit too heavy and not ideal for hot summer days. Overall, I liked making this top and I enjoyed wearing it in the summer as well. I do have a video on it where the original, if you saw it, it may look a little different to you because originally I had added a black border around the armholes and around the neckline. And I had enjoyed that contrast of black and pink. I really do enjoy that combination, but it wasn't looking right. So I did take that apart and I like this more. It does remove some of the structure that the black yarn had created. I believe I had made single crochets around the armholes so that way like the fabric isn't going to stretch over time. So I did remove that, and so now it might start to stretch over time, which it's not a bad thing. It could just turn into one of those like super loose drapey tops. Someone asked for a custom order. Actually, so that you can look at this better, I'm gonna put this mason jar inside the cozy. It's easier to see. But someone reached out asking for a custom order, so I made one. This is not it, of course. It's already gone. But this is one that I had on hand from years ago. It still holds up pretty well. This is one of my favorite designs, I think. So next up is this prototype top vest. It is using some worsted weight yarn that is better suited for winter, maybe fall. I haven't really made much use of it, to be honest. I think it might be the color combo. These are not really colors that I wear too often. When I was playing around with this, this was pretty much an experiment. It was the first of the working sideways technique tops that I created. It was a bit of an experiment. You can probably see that the armhole, it's fairly large and it kind of gapes a little bit. And that's okay. This is why it's better suited as a vest, if anything. But this is a good thing I created because then it led to this lovely top. This is using a lighter weight cotton yarn and it is way better suited than the acrylic yarn. This one I had figured out what to do in terms of the design and structure, so it is loose and baggy in an intentional way, and it fits really well. And what I really love is that I made the back and the front different heights, so I can choose to wear it like this for the front and have a lower neckline, or wear it backwards and have a higher neckline and a lower back. I wore this a few times in the summer. It's really great. I do have a tutorial on how I did this, so if you're curious, you can check that out. Yes, the beach cover up that I made for Barbados. This I did actually finish in time to bring with me to Barbados and wear on the beach, which I am super happy about. If you've seen the vlog where I take you through making this, there was a lot of stress about if I would have enough thread to finish this cover up because I was using leftover threads. These were all Aunt Lydia's crochet thread, and these were spools of thread that I had for years, and they were just sitting around. And eventually I was like, you know what, let me just make a really bright rainbow colored beach cover up. There were varying amounts and I just kept worrying that there wouldn't be enough, but in the end there was, and I am so happy with how it turned out. It's super light, very airy. It is perfect for the beach, and I loved wearing it when I was in Barbados, and I cannot wait to wear this again. I think this is probably my favorite crochet hat that I have made, maybe ever. I absolutely love all the different colors that I used. These were all leftover yarns. This hat has gotten a lot of use, believe me. It is so warm and cozy and comfortable, and it just brightens up my whole like winter outfit because I have a gray jacket, so this pop of color is great. I love it. This is probably one of my favorite projects from 2024. Okay, I know I said that the hat was probably one of my favorite projects, but this poncho, I'm so happy with how it turned out. I love this poncho. Like, it is so cozy, it's so comfortable, it's very soft, it's very polished looking and yet cozy. Definitely one of my favorites. I think I would make this again. I might try this in a solid color, maybe make it longer, I'm not sure, but or maybe just make a blanket with it, because I mean, if you don't have the hole in the middle, it could be a nice little lap blanket or a baby blanket. And I guess maybe because I loved that poncho so much, I made a top using the same sort of structure. This top was actually to just double check the pattern for the poncho. It did start as just making a sort of super cropped poncho just to try out the stitches. But then I kept going, and I was using a lot of leftover yarn that I had. And I kept going to the point where I was like, you know what? I'll just finish this super cropped poncho and then add this ribbed edging on the bottom to finish a top end. And then I just added some rounds around the armholes. I've worn this so many times now. It is such a warm and cozy and soft vest to wear. I think I might actually make this again in maybe a cotton or a lighter weight yarn. This was a really fun experiment and super happy with how this turned out. And because I still had some yarn left over after making that top based on the poncho, I made a really small scarf with the rest of the yarn. I did have to incorporate some other leftover yarns that they were, again, just lying around. So I kind of just worked until I didn't have any more leftover yarn. This is a mushroom bookmark that was inspired by Delicious in Dungeon, the anime that's on Netflix, and I cannot wait for the next season. But I really enjoyed that intro mushroom that just like walks in, and it's got little two legs. And I thought, what if it's just one leg and you can use it as a bookmark? It's all done in one piece. And that was the part that I was trying to figure out, is just how do I make it so that it's one piece without sewing and isn't too difficult to do. So I have a tutorial on this if you want to make yourself a cute mushroom bookmark. This is not a new design, but it was is near to October Halloweenish season, and I realized I didn't have a tutorial on how to make these coasters, and I thought it would be kind of fun to put one together, so I had to make new coasters. Plus, the ones that I had previously created were starting to look a little gnarly, so I thought maybe this is a good time to make a few more. So I made a couple more of these. So sticking with October and the whole Halloweeny sort of vibe, that was around the time that I decided to put together a tutorial for my sandworm slippers pattern. And I thought it would be fun to do this sort of pastel neon punk sort of look. I love how this turned out. The teal and the pink and the purple, I kind of was inspired by, I guess, a Cheshire cat. So if you've been wanting to make yourself a pair of monster slippers, the tutorial is up on my channel and blog. This was an experiment, and again, this was using leftover yarn and just small amounts of yarn from leftover from projects. So it was a really great use of that, and very simple. Just made a whole bunch of flowers, joined them together to make a triangle, and then added little strips to tie it together. And I made a cute flower bandana. Like, is this not cute? I have a video and a blog post on how I made these, so check that out if you want to make yourself a bandana. Ah, I forgot. I also made this hedgehog. This was to make a video tutorial for the Little Mr. Hedgehog amigurumi that I designed a very long time ago, and I kind of want to continue doing that. Is revisiting my older designs and just making sure that the instructions make sense, and ideally putting together a video for some of them. Not all of them, there are a lot. It's helpful to have something to follow along to, and that's what this was. I think I was experimenting to see if I could make a top using just 4 rectangles and sewing them at different spots, and then the shoulders and then the front and back. And so I made this very simple, very quick, easy to make crop top. I need to redo this top, I think, just with a different yarn and maybe make it a little bit longer. But overall, pretty happy with how it looks. It's great for summer and it's super light and airy. This is one of my mug rugs that I created. I really wanted to make a coaster for my desk that would resemble furniture or just home accessories and home decors. And I thought it would be really cute to make a coaster that looked like an actual like floor rug. And this is, I love it. It's super cute and it's very simple. But it makes my desk look a lot nicer, and I love using it. This is one of my favorite coasters, I think. Okay, this is not my design. This is actually a sample from the Dark and Dramatic Mosaic Crochet book. This is by Alexis Sixel. I love the designs in this book. Very, very beautiful and intricate designs. And mosaic crochet is something it's been kind of intimidating for me. So this particular project took me, I don't know how long to make, but I'm glad I finished it, and I think I want to try making more. So this is a first step into the world of mosaic crochet for me. Oh yeah, so this, if you recall the granny square bag I shared earlier, these were the other squares that I had made. And like I mentioned before, this was supposed to be for a different project. I think originally I wanted to make a top, and then I realized that this would be too heavy because the top was supposed to be like a summer top. So instead I joined all the squares, and it is now a shawl that I just wrap around myself or lay over my lap whenever I'm feeling a little chilly. And I love all the color combinations of all the squares. I had these squares sitting for years, like I'm not exaggerating when I say years. And I'm just glad that I was able to finally do something with them. It would have been a shame to have to frog all the squares. So I'm glad I was able to use them all. Oh yes, so these are I guess ankle leg warmers. They're not quite leg warmers because they're very short. But in the beginning of 2024, I was part of this jogging challenge. I am not a winter jogger. I am I am barely a jogger at the best of times. So I thought it would be a good chance for me to just challenge myself. So I made these sort of ankle leg warmers for days when it just felt a little too cold. But in truth, I just ended up wearing these at home because I realized I didn't want to get a whole bunch of snow and salt and dirt all over them when I jog. So these were also an experiment, and kind of freehanded them using some leftover scrap yarn. And then this was another thing that I made for my jogging challenge. This was a gaiter, neck and face gaiter that I made. This actually worked really well. I added an elastic, a thin elastic around the top part so that I could easily just like pop it over my nose when I'm jogging, and it stayed in place, super light because I also didn't want anything bulky and still breathable enough. A lot of this yarn, this is leftover yarn. A lot of it is sock yarn that is also wool. So it was really great for cold, like really cold days when I, of course, wanted to keep my neck especially warm, but also not overheat because I do start to, when I do start to warm up, I sweat quite a bit. So I needed this to keep me warm, even if it started to get damp from me just pouring in sweat, even though it's like minus whatever outside. So this was great. And since then I have used it outside of jogging. Like it's super functional, and of course I love the different colors. Very pretty, very functional. This is the dress I knitted. This was a big project for me. I am not a knitter per se. So this was a challenge for me because I don't think I have ever knitted anything of this size, an entire dress. And I'm so happy that I finished it. Didn't really get a chance to wear it last winter. It was a very mild winter. I am hoping to get some use out of it this winter. It has been pretty cold so far. I love how it looks. It's super comfy, and the pattern was easy to follow. The pattern is by Knititude, and I will leave the details in the description. And then for my second knitted project of the year, I think I just made two knitted projects because knitting, it takes me so long. So this sweater was actually made with a bunch of yarn that was gifted to me. It was all kind of mystery yarn, but some of this was also just leftovers and random small amounts of yarn that I had around. And I love how this turned out. The sequencing of the colors in the pattern is really what drew me to it, and just how all the combinations turned out. And that's what made this particular project, I guess, engaging and exciting. And I didn't get bored making it just because it is, the same stitch all the way through. These kind of projects I tend to get bored with, but this did not bore me. This was amazing, and I actually finished it fairly quickly just because I was that engaged. This is one of my favorites from 2024. I love how it looks and how it fits. Super comfortable, very warm and cozy. Definitely a favorite. I'm almost done, but this I need to share. This was a random idea that popped into my head to make a capybara basket. So a cappy basket. And I had this glass container that I use for just random things like small scissors, and there's like stitch markers and needles and measuring tape, that sort of thing. So this is actually on my desk, and it just sits on my desk. The legs are sturdy enough. I think it's just so cute. And the last thing, the temperature blanket. I finished it. I finished joining all the squares. I added the trim all around, and this is my favorite project from 2024. Like I mentioned a whole bunch of other favorites, but this is the favorite. This blanket was such an ordeal. When I say it's an ordeal, it's because I decided to make one square for each day of the year. So that meant having to track the temperature for each day, constantly remember to update my weather tracker. That was actually kind of annoying, and I did not enjoy that part. Then came the actual crocheting. So for each day there is a granny square that I had to make, which doesn't sound difficult to do. It really isn't. I'm tired. I am so bored with making granny squares after this. And then on top of that, like you saw in the previous projects, is I had a whole bunch of granny squares and granny stitch projects. So I kind of want to step away from granny stitches and granny squares for a little bit, at least 2 days. Honestly, this is such a beautiful blanket. I love the transitioning from winter to spring to summer and then to fall and winter again, and just how all the colors look together. I mentioned with the red knitted dress, I wasn't able to wear it last year because it was a pretty mild winter. If you'll notice, this is actually the beginning of 2024 here. There are only 3 of these dark blue squares. In previous years, there would have been a lot more of these. So it's very concerning, and it's very telling looking at this blanket that in like February or March we had this light yellow. This is a temperature that's more consistent with spring and early summers. It really should not be this warm. If you ever needed proof that our climate is changing, and I have no idea as a single human being on this planet what I can do about it other than keep talking about it. The doom and gloom part of me thinks it's too late to do anything about it, and that it's possible that in my lifetime I'm going to experience drought in a country that should not be experiencing drought. Okay, I had to take a moment and take a few calming breaths. I mean, I might be questioning, or you might be even questioning, like, was making a temperature blanket a good idea? And yes, like I needed a visual piece that I could look at and just be reminded to get angry and like just want to do something and try to be a better human being. So things like not contributing to fast fashion, repurposing, making sure I use all of my leftovers and scrap yarns, not add to the waste. So I think that is what this blanket will represent for me every time I bring it out and use it. I hope that also inspires you to just consider how you're using products and where you're buying your products from, especially when it comes to fast fashion. I know a lot can be said about it. This has been very inspiring for me in terms of just me being a better person and then looking ahead. So, what is coming up in 2025 for me in terms of crochet and making things? So, for 2025, I don't necessarily have any specific designs I want to make. I don't have anything planned, and I think that's the approach that I want to take for this coming year. I just want to make what I want when I want and not stress too much about it. So, what do I want to do? So, I'm glad you asked. I mentioned mosaic crochet. Like, that is something that intimidates me. And I think because it intimidates me, I should do it more. So, I'm going to try and make more of the patterns in the dark and dramatic mosaic crochet book. I think the instructions are great and very easy to follow. And I think if I have a specific project in mind, like if I choose a few projects from the mosaic book, it'll be more likely that I will actually make it and finish that particular project. So that is the mindset I am going with into mosaic crochet and learning how to do it. And the other thing that I want to do this year is to learn how to do Tunisian crochet, which is another technique that has kind of intimidated me. I do have a Tunisian crochet hook somewhere. I think I used it once and never again. So this year, I really want to make a concentrated effort to learn how to Tunisian crochet and actually make something. So similar to mosaic crochet is if I've got a specific project in mind and I've got my materials, I'll be more likely to finish it and continue going with it. So I think I just need that. I need the structure and the idea and just like I'm ready to go. And then the other thing is sewing. I haven't sewn in a very long time. Way back when I was a teenager, I would go to thrift stores and just take old clothes and I would just alter them and make some really unique pieces. And I really want to get back into doing that. And I think I probably stopped because I became an adult with money, so I was able to go to a store and buy whatever I wanted. I kind of stopped creating, and I have definitely been missing that creative outlet in my life, and I need to bring that back. Plus, like I have mentioned already, there's the whole fast fashion industry, and just as part of being a better human being, I do want to take my old clothes, I do want to go and thrift for clothing and turn something old into something new. So I will be developing my sewing skills and then also just reducing the amount of waste that goes into a landfill. So there's a possibility you will be seeing some sewing projects on this channel. All right, so those are all the projects for 2024. There's a lot. Thank you so much for just watching this till the end. I know there were a lot of projects, so super, super thankful. And thank you for joining me on this crochet journey, just being on this channel and subscribing and engaging with my content. It has been wonderful. So deeply appreciate that. Thank you. Looking forward to the 2025 projects that I end up making and sharing with you, and hope you will join along. As always, like, share, and subscribe if you would like to. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.